Everyone who's here for the first two hearings, we have a large crowd for the third hearing. If you wouldn't mind stepping out into the hallway so we can make sure folks have room. Thank you.
Okay, now the main event. Thank you everyone for your patience. Intro 82A, more importantly known as the Taxi and Livery Driver Protection Act. And this legislation, I just want to say at the outset, this legislation is happening because of all of you who fought for it, who stood together to make sure that you could be safe and your families would know that their loved ones were safe. So thank you for the great work everyone in this room did contributing to this victory. Intro 82A requires TLC vehicles to post signs warning passengers of penalties for assaulting drivers. Now we are all New Yorkers are greatly troubled by the number of attacks we've seen on cab drivers and livery drivers. This includes 2 drivers who were tragically killed on the job this last summer. And we must do more to keep our drivers safe. This bill is similar to the protections that the MTA put in to protect subway and bus operators. The sign reminds all passengers that the maximum penalty for assaulting a driver is 25 years in prison. And that is a powerful message. The bill is sponsored by Councilmember Rory Lansman, and we thank him for his leadership and for being with us today. We thank Speaker Melissa Mark-Dijarito for her support, and a woman who will make sure this legislation is implemented quickly and across the board, and is doing a great job as our TLC Commissioner. I'd like to welcome Meera Joshi.
Thank you, and I'll be brief because I know there's many here who can articulate the reasons that this bill is a wonderful piece of legislation, much better than I can. But I'll start with some thank yous. Thank you, Councilmember Lansman, for spearheading this important legislation. Thank you, Chair Rodriguez and the Transportation Committee for your continued support for driver protection initiatives. And thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for your continued support of measures that improve the working lives of drivers. But most of all, thank you to the industry groups who so clearly articulated for lawmakers the daily perils drivers face. The TLC's licensed professionals drivers are key to New York City's vitality. They transport almost 1 million people a day, making it the city's 3rd largest mover of people. But driving is a solitary profession and can be risky at times. Earlier this year, Bronx livery drivers Mr. Kane and Mr. Ba, while working, were senselessly killed. And yellow taxi driver Mr. Fad from Pakistan, in a racially motivated attack, was assaulted with a skateboard. His nose was fractured and his face was severely cut. Year to date, there have been 5 felony and 39 misdemeanor assaults on drivers. Today's MTA's subways, stations, and buses bear public warnings of the penalties associated with assaulting an MTA driver. TLC drivers deserve the same level of protection. Intro 82 will require this warning and create a moment of reflection and prevent future assaults. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meera. And now I'd like to introduce the bill's sponsor, Councilmember Rory Lansman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Commissioner, for your tireless support of this legislation, and more broadly for your commitment to keeping our taxi and livery drivers as safe as possible. You all are very important to us. The men and women who drive our taxis and liveries play a critically important role in the mass transit system in New York City, as the Commissioner indicated, moving over 1 million people a day throughout our city. And we need to do everything that we can to make sure that you're safe and secure. This legislation will make sure that anybody who enters a taxi or a livery cab knows the very, very serious consequences that could follow by assaulting that driver. We are sure as we have seen in other jurisdictions that have adopted legislation like this, that those individuals will think twice before they attack a livery driver and prevent that man or woman from coming home to their family safe and sound. And we know that because of your leadership, Mr. Mayor and Madam Commissioner, and the leadership of the drivers and their terrific New York Taxi Workers Alliance, that some measure of safety and security is going to come to the men and women who play such an important role in our mass transportation system here in New York City. So thank you so much for your support, and to all of you who are here today and have been with us through this fight for a number of years now. As the Commissioner said, we wouldn't be here without you. So thank you very, very much.
Okay, there's a lot of interest, to say the least. And now, Sanjita Khatun of NYTWA.
Good afternoon. My name is Sanjita Khatun. I live in New Jersey and work in New York. And I'm very, very thankful to you passing this law, because I was assaulted. I picked a passenger from 103 Madison, brought him to Canal, Chinatown. He tried to pull me over to side street. I refused. He grabbed my throat. It was 6:30 p.m. I jump out of the car. I scream. People together that this person has a knife, because I saw the knife. This guy tried to run away. Nobody tried to help. Nobody came forward. I still have a fracture. It happened that a few minutes later, police came by. I hailed the cab, them, and tried to look for him. We couldn't find, and I'm very, very grateful. You passed this law for us, and this will encourage more women to work, and they will feel safe. I have one request. When we turn on our travel light, which blinks, any police officer car around here, at least stop us to see if something wrong with us. That is the request. And second request I have, when we have a rush hour passenger, they're taking a cab, they want to reach their destination as soon as possible. Where our buses are allowed to turn, if we have a passenger, we should be allowed to turn. Because this will make shorter distance for the passenger. And they will be happy to reaching their destination as soon as possible. And I'm a lone bread earner for my family, because my son is in service. And I thank you.
Thank you very much. And Chairwoman Joshi mentions that there is legislation being worked on to address the point about the lights being an indicator to the NYPD to come provide assistance. So there is certainly work on that. Now I call it Bill Lindauer of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance.
I'm the other Bill in the room. I drove a taxi for 30 years. Now I'm on the organizing committee of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. This is our baby. This is our brainchild, especially that of our executive director, Beta V. Desai. I know she could be here today. She's busy organizing drivers in San Francisco. We're gaining more power. I want to give the utmost credit to Councilman Landsman. He fought for this bill for years now, first in Albany and now in the City Council. He was incredible. He spent countless hours, and it's unbelievable. I want to thank, of course, Transportation Committee Chairman Idanis Rodriguez. And I want to thank even the TLC. I don't get to thank the TLC often. I don't deserve thanking very often, but I want to thank them. And I want to see the police department and the DAs of the 5 boroughs work jointly, so when they capture an assailant, they're prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. There should be maybe like a joint task force. And aligned with this bill is the Health and Disability Fund. That was also the brainchild of the Taxi Workers Alliance and approved by the TLC. Some judge in the lower court, some off-the-wall judge, ruled against it, like we don't need health and disability. And of course, some scurrilous scoundrels in the taxi industry, taxi tycoons, you know who you are, filed that lawsuit. And we know we will win on appeal because this is human decency and rational thinking. Thank you.
Now I'd like to welcome Javaid Tariq from the New York Taxi Workers.
This for us like a dream comes true. We worked very hard last 15 years for this bill because being a cab driver ourselves, we see every week 3 or 4 drivers coming in our office who got assaulted. And I'm thankful to Lanceman and Mira Joshi and Mr. Blasio that you are signing this bill today. It is really a dream for us, for the safety of 99% immigrant drivers who has families, they have little kids, and at the end of shift they don't know they're gonna come home safe, or they're gonna be murdered, or they're gonna be assaulted. This is a big, big relief for us, and I'm really thankful to you all that who help us to pass this bill. At least now the wives of those drivers or other relatives, they can have little relief. They can have hope that their husband or brother or son who went to work, they're gonna come safe home. And thank you very much, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Good evening or good afternoon. Mr. Latchman, thank you, sir. We've been fighting for this bill. By the way, my name is Beresford Simmons, and I'm a member organizing committee of the Taxi Workers Alliance. I'm also one of the senior cab drivers in New York City. I'm still driving today. My cab is outside, and I hope you guys don't tow me away. Anyway, Ms. Dochi, the Commissioner, thank you very much, Madam, for the work that you've been doing with us through this administration. And to the Mayor of New York City, again, I thank you very much. This is a bill I've been driving for over 40 years, and I'm still driving. Thank God. My health is not in the best of condition, so we need that health fund to go along with us.
Yes.
Again, Mr. Latchman, like I said, from Albany to New York City, I do not feel like the Roger Dangerfield anymore. Okay? I think this bill will give us a little respect. All right. I have a list of names here that has been assaulted. I won't go through it today because it will take away a little bit of my time. But again, thank you so much, and to my membership here, and I'm speaking for not just the members of the Taxi Workers Alliance, but all the cab drivers in New York City. You are the mayor of New York City, I'm the mayor of the cab drivers.
Pleasure to meet you, Mr. Mayor. And now, Mr. Hawk. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This bill actually is very important for me, first of all, and obviously all other taxi drivers in New York City. My name is Mohammed Al-Haq. I'm the co-founder and organizing member of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. This campaign was born from a hospital bed. While I was driving taxi cab, I had been stabbed by a passenger through the partition and broken knives. So many of you saw this news, and Mr. Blasio at that time, he was my council member. And so I urge to the politicians and media to splash this, and all the politicians to bring up some sort of legislation for the safety measures of the taxi drivers. And obviously this incident put me out of this business. And so we worked really hard. It took 9 years, from 2005, March 31st, and up to here today, the bill right over here, just waiting to sign for the mayor. And why it is so important? I mean, this sign at least can save people's lives. I mean, people will think twice that committing any crime. So it's really important for us, and as a balance for my colleague said, it's really a big relief. And I want to thank Mr. Mayor. I want a special thank to Mr. Launchman. You started when my campaign started, and you just introduced the bill in Albany, but it didn't happen there. But now it happened in New York City. So I want to thank you again for this your hard work and support. And thank you, Ms. Meera Joshi, the Commissioner of TLC. She support with her associates. She support this bill to turn into a law. So I'm so thankful, Mr. Mayor, you are signing this bill. I'm waiting to see it. I mean, this is my life, just my life. I'm a victim and never life. Thank you.
A few words in Spanish before we sign the legislation. Hoy estoy firmando una legislación que exige que avisos enumerando las penalizaciones por agredir a conductores de taxis y carros libres sean publicadas en todos los vehículos de la Comisión de Taxis y Limusinas. Tenemos que hacer todo lo posible para mantener a nuestros conductores seguros. With that, we're going to go over and sign the legislation. Aaron, George, come on.
That's all.
If you wouldn't mind stepping up, we have some more folks step in, we've got some other families coming.
Thank you.
You're very kind.
Any other drivers want to get up?